everybody, and welcome to the weekly scopes from the 17th to the 23rd of August. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's weekly scopes. If you've heard this before, you can skip, but this is just the intro on how I formulate these astrology weekly readings. I use astrology and my intuition to give you advice how you can practically use the knowledge of the stars and the planets and apply them to your life. So my weekly scopes are all based on GMT time and on Vedic Constellational Astrology. So now I'm just going to explain what Vedic Constellational Astrology is and how it differs from Western astrology. So the precession of the equinox is sort of like something that happens in astronomy and astrology, where the Earth's axis undergoes a slow circular motion over 26,000 years, and basically this means that this motion causes a shift in the position of the equinoxes, and also the calculation Vedic and Western astrologies use. So around 2,000 years ago, the tropical and sidereal Vedic astrology signs of astrology were aligned in the same position. So if the sun was in Scorpio in Vedic astrology, it was also in the constellation of Scorpio in Western astrology. But because of the precession of the equinoxes, this has caused a gradual westward sort of like drift of the tropical Western signs. So basically these signs and the Western signs shift 1 degree with every 72 years. So as a result of this ongoing shift, when Western astrology says the sun is in the constellation of Pisces, it's typically in the constellation of Aquarius. Still, this is because the degree, orb and the date for Western and Vedic astrology are 24 degrees, 24 days apart. So in Western astrology, the sun enters the constellation of Pisces around the 19th of February each year, but actually the sun doesn't arrive into the constellation of Pisces until the 13th to the 15th of March each year, and Vedic astrology takes this into account because it's based on the fixed star positions, and Vedic astrologers use sidereal calculations. So as a result, Vedic astrology takes into account the actual positions of the constellations in the sky at any given time, and also considers the precession of the equinox, adjusting for the shift in the position of the equinoxes over time. But in terms of Western astrology follows the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons rather than fixed star positions. Western astrologers also do not directly account for the precession of the equinox in their calculations as well, so this results in slightly different calculations and interpretations that are given whether we're using Western astrology or Vedic astrology. So yeah, as I said, Western astrology uses specific dates, so every year, regardless of where the sun actually is at the sky, the sun moves into Pisces around the 19th of February. So yeah, this discrepancy, this misalignment between the tropical zodiac and the actual positions of the constellations has led to a discrepancy between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So I consider the actual where the sun and the moon are and where Mars and Venus are at any given time, and this is how I formulate these sort of like weekly scopes. So yeah, thanks for listening to this, and let's dive into this week's weekly scope. Okay, so now I'm just going to explain what parallels and contra-parallels are in astrology, because I use them in my chart interpretation. So declination in astrology is the measure of how far a celestial body is, such as the sun, whether it's either north or south of the celestial equator. And the celestial equator is an imaginary line in the sky above the Earth's equator, which us astrologers use in our interpretation. So parallels happen when two planets are on the same declination. Either both planets are on the north side side, or either both planets are on the south side, and this alignment increases the influence of the involved planets. So it's similar to a conjunction aspect, as it amplifies their energy, making the effects of the planets more pronounced. Contra-parallels, on the other hand, happen when two planets are on the same declination, but one is in the north and one is in the south. So this alignment creates tension, which is similar to an opposition aspect, and it can lead to conflict, challenges and inner struggles between the energies of the planets involved. So contra-parallels highlight areas of friction or contrast in our lives, urging us to find balance between the opposing forces at play. When transiting parallels and contra-parallels happen, they can sort of like trigger significant events, shifting consciousness and periods of intense growth and transformation. So I look at these aspects closely during chart analysis to understand how planetary energies interact and influence each other during a specific time frame, to pinpoint key periods for personal development, relationship dynamics or career shifts, and other shifts like karmic shifts and stuff like that. Because I just find using contra-parallels and parallels gives me more depth in interpretation, so I use them. So contra-parallels and parallels in astrology serve as markers for potential challenges or breakthroughs, guiding us towards more self-awareness, love, acceptance, understanding, forgiveness for ourselves and others, and shifts in consciousness and growth. So overall, just a shift in our mindset if we allow for it. So parallels and contra-parallels just kind of like provide valuable insights into the complexities and nuances of the astrological interactions between planetary movements. So yeah, that's the end of what contra-parallels and parallels are. So this week we've just got one main aspect influencing us, and that's Mercury making a sextile to Mars at 6:33 a.m. on the 18th of August. This entered on the 12th of August, was exact on the 15th of August last week, also exact this week on the 18th, as I said, and leaves us on the 21st of August. And Mercury is in Cancer and Mars is in Virgo. So I'm going to talk a bit more in a short while about this week's only main influence, but first I'm just going to do a summary analysis of the main aspects, the day-to-day ones included, that are influencing us. So this week's main astrological themes are, as I said, Mercury sextile to Mars. This brings mental clarity, decisive action. So maybe if you've been feeling stuck on which decision to make on any issue, this energy allows us to make that decision this week. It allows us to have more effective communication, and especially when we're communicating about plans and strategies. Also allows us to execute our plans with more precision, so allows us to do the things that we want to do and get the results we want this week. The Sun's quintile to Saturn on the 17th of August, which is a nice subtle energy, a creative sort of aspect that it challenges us this week to find innovative solutions to structural limitations to the challenges that come up this week, and it requires us to find the balance between our personal expression and our meeting our obligations of our external responsibilities and our routine, like going to work, taking the bins out, all of that. The Sun also makes a biquintile to Neptune, so again this allows us to be creative and be in tune with our spiritual side. It asks us to integrate our vision, our ideas, right, with practical reality through unconventional means, so thinking outside of the box, thinking quick on our feet, being open to new ways of doing old things. The Sun makes a trine to Chiron on the 19th, so this is a heavy flow of energy, healing energy, allowing us to confront deep-seated core wounds from childhood, from early experiences of heartbreak and all of that. And also, especially the wounds around how we express ourselves and who we are as people, our personal identity, how we project ourselves or feel we need to project ourselves onto our environment, how we show up, right, our persona. We may think about why we have personas, and if we want to continue doing them, or if we don't have one way, it may be beneficial for us to do so, and so on. Venus enters Cancer on the 20th of August, so it allows us to focus on love, nurturing ourselves and others, prioritising our emotional security and family connections. It's a good energy to, explore our emotions with. There's a new moon in Leo, so it allows us once again to go through a new cycle of growth and to focus on trying new things, especially in the areas of our self-expression and creativity. Venus makes a square to Chiron on the 23rd, and all of these aspects that I'm about to mention all happen on the 23rd. So Venus is square to Chiron allows us to and brings tension to our need for emotional security and deeper vulnerability, and it brings our relationship wounds to our attention to the surface for healing, and the Sun's quincunx to Saturn helps us do this, but again brings challenges to our self-expression and meeting our responsibilities. So it wants us to find, once again, this week's main theme is finding a balance between our personal desires, what we want to do, and what we need to do, like going to work to pay the bills and all the rest of it. Mercury makes a biquintal to the North Node, so this allows us once again to take new approaches in the way that we communicate and make advancement progress on our spiritual purpose. And Mercury's quintal to Uranus brings creative mental energy and breakthroughs to our week, allowing us to have unexpected insights from places we never expected to find them, and allows us to find new solutions to persistent problems that have been challenging us for a while, So now I'm going to talk a bit more in depth about the only influencing it this week, and it's rare to just have one, right? Some weeks we have none, imagine that. But anyway, this week we just got Mercury making a sextile to Mars, influencing us, and Mercury's in Cancer direct and Mars is in Virgo, and this brings a harmonious flow this week between communication, represented by Mercury, and taking action, represented by Mars. So holistically it represents the productive partnership between mental agility and physical energy. This water-earth combination creates practical emotional intelligence, allowing us to channel our feelings and ideas into productive, constructive, meaningful action. So positively, it improves our mental sharpness, clarity and focus, and we can just have quicker reflexes and quicker responses and actions this week. So good for fast-paced projects. Also great for problem solving, as I said earlier, for us to be more effective in communicating our ideas and intentions to ourselves and others. Gives us the ability to take decisive action based on emotional intuition. Allows us to be productive in our strategic planning and organisation skills. So good for tasks and events that require that, So as I said, it increases our focus and concentration. So good for all that work, that needs us to be 100% focused. Negatively, we can overthink emotional, psychological and spiritual issues. We can become too critical or perfectionistic about communication, and we can just be nervous and restless, if we don't use this energy properly, so we must direct it into something meaningful. Some of you may benefit from doing physical activities, jumping, running, skipping, and weights and all of that. We have to watch out for rushing to conclusions without emotionally processing or taking time out to think and reflect on things, and we can just become impatient this week with other slower cognitive processes. So we may want to answer from our partner, or from anything, and try to rush. So just try and be patient. Yeah, it can be kind of jarring and when you can't get an immediate response, but sometimes we just need to chill out and wait. So the best use of this energy is to do things that require both emotional intelligence and practical execution. It's an excellent energy for events, as I said, like planning family get-togethers, expressing feelings constructively and in a way that's helpful and not judgmental, organising our home and other spaces, implementing nurturing routines, using Mercury's intuitive position in Cancer to sense what needs attention, and Mars in Virgo to implement precise, helpful solutions to our problems. It invites us on the psychological level to, integrate the emotional and analytical aspects of ourself, our psyche. It creates a beneficial psychological state where emotional awareness, Mercury in Cancer, can be effectively translated into practical service, Mars in Virgo, right? Making it easier to understand feelings and take appropriate action. The mind-body connection is improved with this energy this week, allowing for the conscious integration of our emotional needs with constructive behaviour and thought. Karmically, it gives us a chance to balance past communication failures and heal wounds around feeling inadequate with communication, and it allows us to be more effective in the way that we express ourselves and react to others as well, supporting healing emotional wounds through precise, helpful actions and supporting others to do so as well. So ultimately, this sets to ourselves that the grace, ease or karma we earned from past lifetimes or from acts we've done in this lifetime may come to the front of our mind and make it easier for us to harmonise thought and action and emotion and service. On the spiritual level, this aspect supports the alignment of the heart and service. It represents our ability to translate compassionate understanding into practical healing work. Esoterically, it connects the throat chakra, Mercury with the solar plexus and sacral energies, Mars creating a channel for emotional wisdom to manifest through purposeful action this week, So my mantras and guidance for this week are based on the majority of energies that you have in your natal chart. So some of you may have natal charts that are dominant in more than one energy. You may have your rising sign, your sun sign and your moon sign all in different energies. You may have aspects to different planets. So ultimately this could mean you have some planets that are in fire, some in water signs, some in earth signs. So for example, if you have most of your planets in Aries, Scorpio and Capricorn, read the mantras for all of these signs. And if you have all your planets mostly in Taurus, read the mantra for Taurus, but you may also want to read for Libra because Venus rules Taurus and Libra, right? So yeah. So this week, Aries, the Sun makes a trine to Chiron in your sign, and this brings deep, profound healing opportunities related to how you view yourself and your self-expression. Use the Mercury Mars energy to help you with clear communication, especially when communicating your needs, while remaining sensitive to family and other dynamics in relationships that require nurturing attention, and taking time out to nurture yourself as well. Taurus, with Venus entering your home house this week, this emphasises creating comfort and beauty in your personal spaces. Mercury's quintile to Uranus in your sign offers unexpected inspiration about how to express yourself more authentically while maintaining security. Gemini, your ruler Mercury forms powerful aspects throughout this week, supercharging your communication abilities and creative problem solving skills. Use the new moon to set intentions around creative projects that bring you joy and happiness while releasing perfectionism. Cancer, Use Venus entering your sign to enhance your natural nurturing abilities, and this brings attention to how you value yourself, which is good for you to do personal development work and self-forgiveness work and healing work, especially around how you express and receive emotions, feelings and affection. The Mercury-Mars sextile supports you taking practical steps towards finding financial security based on emotional wisdom this week. So thinking about the ways you may oversave or overspend money, how you can bring balance to your finances. Leo, with the new moon in Leo this week, this marks the start of your personal new year, because the sun's in Leo too, and it's a powerful reset moment for your identity and life direction. The sun's aspect to Saturn and Neptune help you integrate spiritual vision with practical responsibility as you start this new cycle. Virgo, with Mars in Virgo forming a productive sextile to Mercury, your analytical abilities are improved and more intuitively guided this week, and the new moon activates the house of your subconscious, bringing important insights about healing old patterns before your birthday season in the coming few weeks. Libra, with your ruler Venus moving into Cancer, it highlights the importance of emotional security in your career house. It wants you to focus on teamwork in projects during the Mercury-Mars sextile energy, which lasts all weeks, allowing you to be more productive, especially in your social connections and your long-term future planning skills or working towards those. Scorpio, this week allows you to strategically plan and use emotional intelligence, and it activates your career and public reputation houses. Use the energy of the new moon to set brave intentions around leadership and take opportunities that allow you to authentically express yourself. Sagittarius, the Leo new moon activates your house of expansion and the 9th house, opening new limits for learning and adventure. The sun's aspects to Saturn and Neptune ask you to balance optimistic vision with practical foundations, routines as you plan your next big move. Capricorn, Saturn's aspects to both the Sun and Mercury create constructive tension between your established routines and necessary transformation. The new moon supports releasing outdated control patterns and being open to more authentic expressions of personal power. Aquarius, with the North Node in your sign receiving a creative biquintile for Mercury, unexpected conversations can reveal important aspects of your life path. The Leo new moon in your relationship house begins a new cycle in how you relate to significant others. Pisces, Neptune and Saturn in your sign form significant aspects throughout the week, bringing attention to the balance needed between you listening to your dreams and practically implementing them, doing the things that your dreams and ideas tell you to do, and implementing them into your day-to-day routine, right? Venus square Chiron activates healing in relationships through compassionate vulnerability and self-care and being gentle with yourself and others in a non-toxic way. So in terms of the mantras for this week, Aries, trust the healing process that's revealing your authentic self. Taurus, create beauty that nurtures both security and liberation. Gemini, your words have power when aligned with heartfelt intention. Cancer, value yourself first and others will follow your lead. Leo, the spotlight finds you when you shine from genuine joy. Virgo, position becomes perfection when guided by compassion. Libra, true harmony requires honouring emotional truth. Scorpio, transform through revealing, not concealing vulnerability. Sagittarius, expand limits while keeping one foot on solid ground. Capricorn, control what truly matters by releasing what doesn't. Aquarius, your unique perspective is the gift the world needs right now. And Pisces, dreams become a reality when anchored in loving service. So content creators this week, content that speaks from the gut, intuition, you know, from the heart, giving actionable tips that people can use to improve their communication and follow their heart, you know, talking about how empathy boosts clear communication, sharing real life stories where emotional insights turned into effective steps. Dig into the art of turning ideas into plans. Let your audience know that when the heart meets detail, magic happens. You know, so how can we follow our heart, especially after heartbreak? How can we improve our trust? How can we improve our self-trust? Because if we learn to trust ourselves, we can be more in tune with other people. Once we accept our own shadows, we can see other people's in shadows and not take it as personally. When we take it personally, it can become a game of why did this person do it to me, instead of seeing why this person is unhealed, they don't manage their psychological and emotional spiritual health, therefore, you know, they're prone to doing things that could hurt. So then you can make informed decisions before entering relationships. And you know, once you love yourself, you won't accept nothing less from others, you know. So, you know, talking about how we can find a balance between feeling deeply and working smartly and loving smartly, and not in the way that's like you know, using our head, but just being realistic about what needs other people can meet and what needs we need to meet ourselves, you know, by being vulnerable and working with our inner child, giving tips on how we can become more vulnerable and more disciplined, and how we can overcome life challenges, because life will always be lifing. So tips on how we can deal with life, such as heartbreak, death, moving jobs, moving home, children moving out, having children, changing partners cheating on a partner, and how you can forgive yourself when you make mistakes and cheat and do things out of character, how we can move from out of self-pity into self-understanding, giving tips on how to integrate our shadow, how to find our shadow, how to accept our weaknesses, how to turn our weaknesses into strengths, and how we can use our emotions to motivate ourselves to get things done rather than allowing them to keep us stuck, you know. And, you know, messages that inspire people to uplift themselves and be practical and get real about what it takes to make their dreams reality, you know. On the 17th of August, the moon enters void of course at 3:48 a.m. The sun makes a biquintal to Saturn at 3:02 p.m. and the sun's in Leo and Saturn's in Pisces. So this allows us to radically accept, love and express ourselves, making our dreams a reality by working on a routine, or continue to work on a routine that allows us to bring our dreams, our ideas to life. The Leo energy gives us the power to survive through inner strength. Pisces energy is when innocence, you know, thinking on that kind of childlike level can meet or serving others and serving ourselves. It adds to creativity this week. It allows us to take disciplined action. It's like a call to take our creative ideas and turn them into something meaningful, asking us to be both imaginative, working with the Pisces energy, and responsible, working with the Sun in Leo and Saturn energy, right, ensuring that our projects have a solid plan, foundation and structure to get to where we need to get to. So strategic planning, writing things down, to-do list, ticking it off. It allows us to ultimately to become more disciplined in our plans and work on achievements, goals that are meaningful rather than just wasting our energy. But we can feel restricted because of lack of resources, time, energy, money, and we can just be overly critical. Others can be overly critical to us, and this may make us feel like we're not good enough, you know. So yes, you know, people will always have their opinion, right? But I believe if you're willing to build the skills you don't have, take your time, you can do 99% of the things that you want to achieve, right, with a bit of courage and discipline. And a lot of the time we have to overcome the fears, our inner fears, and, you know, the external voices that tell us that we can't. The people that have achieved things in this life are usually people, whether it's big or small things, that follow their instincts and overcome obstacles that come their way. So This alignment wants us to mix, combine our creative spark, trigger motivation with disciplined action, and channel our passion into meaningful projects. And although, we may feel restricted because there's a sense of responsibility, it's a time where if we're willing to be more disciplined, we can increase our confidence and shine our light and bring our ideas to life. So in terms of a question to ask yourself today, you can ask yourself, how can you use your creativity, your time and other skills responsibly to achieve your goals and bring your ideas to fruition into life, So ultimately it wants us to create with purpose and be open to change and build on our passion and use discipline. So ultimately today we are called to mix our courage with compassion, create bravely but don't abandon our boundaries, and respect other people. Post that cringe poem, show your vulnerability. In terms of shadow work, you can ask yourself, what mask do you wear to hide your sensitivity? Asking us to be open to the concept of divine timing and trusting ourselves, and taking a visionary, futuristic approach to leading your life, and fine-tuning your day-to-day routine to meet your goals. On the 18th of August, Mercury makes its sextile to Mars at 6:33, and that's the only aspect influencing this week, and I talked about it in depth earlier. The Sun makes a biquintile to Neptune, where Neptune's in Pisces and the Sun's in Leo. That energy is going to last us for the next couple of days, and the Moon enters Gemini at 10:11 a.m. today. So the Sun's biquintile to Neptune allows us and supports us to be emotionally adaptable today, to work on improving our communication and creativity, and express our ideas more assertively, and be more energetic in our communication as well, and just be more inspired by intuition and our thoughts. The Moon in Gemini increases our emotional communication and adaptability as well. So again, another energy that allows us to have creative ideas, to get our thoughts across with confidence, allowing us to be more emotionally versatile as well, and be open to change and deal with emotional situations with greater ease and curiosity and openness as well. And our words can carry more clarity, but negatively we can gossip and cause problems and conflict in our relationships. It adds to the restlessness and the impulsiveness as to we can be impatient, and this can lead to dissatisfaction if we don't use this energy productively. Our emotions can change rapidly, and this can cause mood swings and unpredictability as well, because we can just have the need for constant mental overstimulation, causing problems some people for the sake of it to get a response. So we have to make sure we respect other people's boundaries, assert our own boundaries. The best use of this energy is to seek the right type of mental stimulation to keep our mind active and engaged, to participate in conversations that are uplifting and explore new ideas, and be open to change and communicating openly about your feeling. So in terms of reflective questions we can ask ourselves today, you can ask yourself, how can you channel your restless energy into productive and fulfilling activities? How will you balance your assertiveness with emotional sensitivity in your interactions, and are you using this time to explore new ideas and express yourself creatively, or are you wasting it, which is not the best use of this energy, because you can really move ahead in your projects, by brainstorming, using voice notes to tap into your ideas, of writing things down. It's a good opportunity to vibe with engaging, stimulating conversations, and be productive and open to new experiences. On the 19th of August, the Moon enters its balsamic moon phase. The Sun makes a trine to Chiron, and the Sun's in Leo and Chiron's in Aries, and this energy lasts for the next 2 days. So this energy wants us to self-reflect, heal and focus on creative renewal, and to reflect on our past experiences and release old patterns, preparing ourselves for new beginnings. The Sun Tyrant adds a healing and creative dimension to this week, allowing us to express our wounds in a way that develops and shows personal and collective healing and vulnerability in a empathetic and holistic way. So it's a good time to let go of past hurts and prepare for fresh starts, developing, working towards your personal growth and renewal, letting go of things and expressing yourself in the right way. Some of you may inspire others with this energy or inspire yourself, being optimistic and, just like, what, I'm going to move on with my life and make the changes that I need to get out of my comfort zone and embrace newness. It allows us to be more empathetic in our understanding. We can find it easier to connect with others on a deeper level and receive support or offer guidance, but negatively can add to the emotional sensitivity of this week. So it's important to practice self-care and emotional balancing. We can resist change as well, and this can get in the way of our progress. The best use of today's energy is to take time out to self-reflect and let go of what no longer serves you, creating space for new opportunities. Use creative outlets to express your healing, whether it's through art, writing, dancing, singing, or other forms of creative expression, and be open to, healing. Look for it and consider how you can help others heal if you are at that part of your journey, sharing your experiences and wisdom to help others out. So it allows us to turn childhood bullying stories or other stories into healing experiences, allowing us to work through our trauma and rebrand it. We can look at the ways, in terms of the shadow work, how we overuse humour to avoid real healing. It's very important to work through your wounds, heal and look after the needs of your inner child. Also, are you mistaking arrogance for self-worth and true confidence? Does your confidence come from stimulants, drugs, alcohol and other things putting people down, or is it authentic? If not, how can you make your arrogance true confidence if you do have arrogance? How can you be more open to becoming empowered? And in terms of questions to ask yourself today, what am I ready to release from my past to make room for new beginnings? How can I use my creativity to support healing for myself and others? And am I open to change? If not, why not? And the 20th of August, the moon enters void, of course, at 1:27. The moon enters Cancer at 2:06 p.m. and Venus enters Cancer at 8:50 p.m. So when the moon enters Cancer, it's a time to focus on emotional security and nurturing those we care about and nurturing ourselves. Venus entering Cancer adds nurturing and care as well to our relationships, emphasising emotional depth and empathy for ourselves and others, developing a sense of safety and security as we care for ourselves and others. Our relationships can become more meaningful as we look for understanding in our connections and repairing any problems we've been facing and being open to get over the past, right? Allowing ourselves to look for fresh perspectives before taking action and moving forward, and reflecting and recharging. Negatively, our emotional sensitivity can be increased, and because we can feel more vulnerable, we can be more sensitive to the moods of others and their actions as well, and this can lead to conflict or taking things as criticism when it's not a criticism. And there can be a tendency to cling to familiar patterns, especially in relationships, which can get in the way of growth. So the best use of today's energy is to focus on caring for yourself and others. Do things that bring you comfort and a sense of belonging, whether through family, a lover, close relationships or personal self-care, but don't overindulge too much. Balance is key. Spiritually, it wants us to heal our inner child and be open to continue starting the work of looking after our emotional, spiritual and psychological needs. In terms of shadow work, you can ask yourself, what family patterns do I need to let go of, and what do I actually want to keep, because it works both ways. Not everything about our family is all bad, even if it appears bad on the surface. We can always, mine for the good, the positive in the lesson, rethinking how you communicate. How do you communicate with yourself and others? Is it positive or is it negative, and how can you improve your communication? Allowing yourself to take some time out to chill, rather than forcing yourself to be productive. Some of you, because of the Cancer energy, can write letters to your younger self, maybe your younger teenage self, then burn them, or write anything down that you want to release, as this can be, seen as a symbol on the esoteric level that you're ready to move on forward with your life, and take some time out to nurture yourself, whether a nice bath, a shower, writing things down, cooking with yourself or with your family or someone else. Your mantra today can be, I honour my roots while growing new branches. Questions that you can ask yourself today are, what areas of my life could benefit from a pause and for me to self-reflect before moving forward? How can I nurture my emotional well-being and the well-being of those around me in healthy ways? Are there relationships in my life where I can deepen emotional connections and create and develop greater understanding between myself and others? It's a day where we can take time out to nurture our emotional self, improve our relationships, and be open to building a sense of security and harmony in our personal and relationship life. On the 21st of August, the moon enters void of course at 7:14 p.m. On the 22nd of August, the moon enters Leo at 7:47 p.m. So the moon in Leo increases our emotional expression, creativity and confidence. Again, we can use this to be more creative and feel more self-assured, inspiring us to take on new challenges and leadership roles. We can just feel more generous and warm, and this can help us develop or repair our relationships and just be more kind to ourselves and others. But negatively, it adds to the sense of pride and arrogance and the need for constant validation. Remember, the best validation comes from within. So it's all about working through the blockages that you have that stop you from loving on yourself, accepting yourself, and not comparing yourself and your journey with others, and accepting your unique talents and strengths as well as your weaknesses. Also, this energy adds to the mood swings that can happen over the next few days as we enter the weekend. The best use of this energy is to express yourself, step into leadership, go after projects, work on projects that require confidence and braveness, and connect generously with others and nurture your relationships and social connections. In terms of the shadow work you can do, ask yourself, where do I perform instead of actually self-expressing myself? In terms of questions you can ask yourself today, how can you channel your increased confidence into positive and productive actions? How can I balance my need for attention with the needs and feelings of others? How can I seek validation from within rather than without? And how can I use my time to express myself authentically and generously? On the 23rd of August, the moon makes a bioquintile to the moon's north node, and Mercury's in Cancer and the moon's north node is in Aquarius. Venus makes a square to Chiron, and Venus is in Cancer and Chiron's in Aries. There's a new moon at 7:07 a.m. The sun makes a quincunx to Saturn, and the sun's in Leo and Saturn's in Pisces, and Mercury makes a quintile to Uranus, and Uranus is in Taurus. So Mercury's bioquintile to the moon's north node again improves our communication, helps us to be open to new ideas and express them, allows us to work on communicating creatively, but negatively adds to the overthinking and miscommunication that this week aspects has caused. So it's important to remain grounded. The best use of this energy is to have meaningful conversations, to brainstorm solutions and align your communication with your long-term goals and the needs of the situation. Read the room. Venus is square to Chiron, allows us to heal wounds in our relationship, allowing us to confront past hurts and develop deeper emotional connections. it allows us to have more empathy and work on having more authentic relationships with others and ourselves. But negatively, because it brings emotional pain, it can make us feel inadequate, and we may not want to deal with the wounds that come up, and we may avoid them and escape into intoxicating substances, because we want to numb ourselves, So be gentle with yourself, take one step at a time. The best use of this energy is to reflect on past relationship patterns, practice self-compassion, love, forgiveness, and look for healing through emotional release and understanding. The new moon allows us to make a new start and set intentions for the future, and I've done a whole separate audio on the new moon if you want to check that out. The best use of this energy is to reflect on what you want to manifest, set clear intentions, and write a strategic plan on how you can reach your goals. The sun's quincunx to Saturn allows us to focus on being responsible and reaching our goals, and reevaluate our commitments, making sure they align with our long-term goals. Allows us to increase our discipline and increases our sense of responsibility, but it can add to our feelings of limitation, make us too serious and cold, and ignoring our emotional needs and the emotional needs of those we care about. The best use of this energy is to rethink your commitments, focus on what truly matters, and take disciplined steps towards reaching your goals, and just taking some time out to nurture yourself and others as well. Mercury's quintile to Uranus again allows us to think outside of the box, be open to change, but it can add to the restlessness and unpredictability of the week. The best use of this energy is to be open to change. So ultimately, today's energies wants us to connect with our higher purpose, heal our emotional wounds, set clear intentions, and be open to responsibility, and to think more creatively, and take responsibility for our own life direction, and look for healing and things that create authentic relationships, repair our relationships, avoid the pressure of doing too much at once, align with your long-term goals, and watch out for the restlessness and unpredictability this energy brings. Make a plan B, but be gentle with yourself and others as you make mistakes. In terms of questions to ask yourself today, ask yourself, how can you align your communication with your higher purpose and soul's path? What steps can you take to heal emotional wounds and deepen your relationships? What intentions do you want to set during the new moon, and how will you take action towards reaching them? How can you be open to responsibility and align your commitments with long-term goals? What innovative ideas can you explore to solve challenges and be open to change this week? So ultimately, this week offers a powerful mix of energies that can help us with our growth, self-awareness, love, respect, healing, and bringing new things into our life and getting outside of our comfort zone. If we're open to these opportunities, we can align with our higher purpose and create deeper connections with ourselves and others, and take creative steps towards building a better future for ourselves and those we care about. So I'm Amani, your holistic astrological life coach, and this has been the weekly Scopes from the 17th of August to the 23rd of August. Take care and see you next time.